Okay, well, we had a much longer video than I expected with that Young Turks clip. Now here is hopefully a pretty short one. This is from Ethan's stream from just yesterday, I guess it was. Truth, Justice, and the American Way. Near the end, some things were said. And before we get into it, let me preface this by saying I don't have a problem with jokes. As, I mean, like I said, it's like all the, that was the subject of the last video, essentially, was racist jokes. It's like, I don't have a problem with jokes. It's like, and you base them on whatever you want to, it's fine. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to find them all funny, but, it's like, you want to joke about people's race? I don't care. You want to joke about their sexuality? I don't care. You want to, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that said, something I've also mentioned, I think, before about comedy is that it's funny, or funnier, etc., if there's an element of truth involved, or at least if people think there's an element of truth involved. There's an issue that it confuses me as to why it seems to be an issue. As the title of the video says, this is about bisexuality. Now, we're going to watch this clip, which is only a couple minutes long or so, from Ethan's stream. And we're going to hear some, I mean, presumably meant to be kind of funny, but to me, not really all that funny, mostly just because it seems to be showcasing ignorance. And again, it's like, if it's funnier if there's some truth there. And there was also an awful lot. Obviously we're not going to look at that, but there's an awful lot of shit in Ethan's chat that was, again, people, maybe they're trying to make a joke, but frankly they just all sound like dumbasses to me. Anyway, the subject of bisexuality, it's like, it's incredibly simple. It's really goddamn easy to grasp the concept, and it's like, and this probably wouldn't have bothered me if I hadn't had so many different people from all walks of life, over the past, I don't know how many years now, that I've heard say, similar stupid things that it's like, what are you talking about? Like some guy who, it's like, otherwise I'd largely respect the dude, Christian, as a doctorate, even he's, and it's like, okay, and you're against gay marriage, and I understand. It's like, I'm a Christian. I don't happen to believe that, the standard dogma of how God hates the gays. Like, I don't buy into that. You can look that up. There are scriptural arguments against, interpreting things that way. But I have no problem with gay marriage. I never did. Now, from a logical standpoint, the whole slippery slope argument about gay marriage doesn't hold water. But one thing, unfortunately, that we have to keep in mind is that the left, they're not logical, not even slightly. So, unfortunately, the slippery slope is a thing when it comes to the left, because they don't view anything logically. So, although there's no logical connection with, allowing same-sex couples to get married and, marrying your pets and wanting to legalize, child molestation and things like that. It's, all this other weird shit. It's like there's no logical link there, but they will make that fucking leap. The left will make that fucking leap, and they will make the argument that, well, now that, so anyway. But like I said, years ago, when they were still debating this or whatever, this particular guy was talking about, was talking about, the slippery slope, basically, of legalizing gay marriage and how that shouldn't be allowed, and he said something about it opening the door to bisexuality, and it's like, what? what does that even mean? Opening the door to bisexuality. It's like, bisexuality is a thing, dude. It exists already. Legalizing gay marriage has nothing to do with bisexuality existing or not existing. It's incomprehensible how these people, just don't seem to know what the fuck they're talking about. Especially since, again, it's such a simple fucking concept, And so, like I said, we're about to see, Ethan and his boomer friends here talk about it. Now, they talk about it in respect to this guy, who I gather is some SJW comic professional dipshit, and I don't care about this dude. Don't care about him. He came out as bisexual, whatever. They want to make jokes about him being bisexual. That's fine. But the general comments that were made about bisexuality, rather than, specifically about this dude, it's like, somebody's going to hear this and they're going to have their lack of knowledge about what this very simple definition of this word fucking is. Just further fucked all to hell. Anyway, so it's just annoying, man. As people take simple concepts and act like they're impenetrable, and that's such a weird thing to do, especially with something that is very simple. When there are so many other fucking things that the left basically has just invented out of whole cloth. Like they've just pulled some of this shit out of their ass, and it doesn't mean anything because it's just it's not based in logic or reason or anything. So there's a lot of things to do with sexuality that the left has just invented. And it's like, yeah, good luck figuring that shit out because it doesn't make any sense. But bisexuality, it's like that makes perfect sense. It's very easy to grasp. So the idea that so many people are, potentially genuinely not aware of what it means, it's just, it's like, oh, God damn it, people. It's like, be better. Be better than this. And I don't mean that the way the SJWs mean. I mean, just look it up. Although you'd have to look it up in an old dictionary because God only knows what the fuck the dictionary says now. But you go back 10 years and it had a reasonable definition. Now, I don't know. It might say anything because they've been redefining words because the SJWs have infiltrated every goddamn level of society. They have to be burned out at some point. Anyway, so here we go with the clip.
Pushing away Joe Bennett, he should have pushed away a plate or two.
Damn it. If he had they them in his bio, I'd believe it because he's the size of 2 or 3 people.
There you go, kid. There you go, kid.
You've been saving that joke for the whole night, right?
Again, fat jokes, got no problem with that. I'm fat, you wouldn't make fun of fat people. I don't care.
Look, he came out as bisexual this month, so you're not...
What?
And again, you want to make fun of this guy for being bisexual, that's fine. Don't care.
He did?
This year, yeah. Friday,
Stunning
the
and
Pride
brave.
Month, Ewan came out as bisexual. In
His
other words,
wife
guys.
must be proud.
Although I will say that probably there are a lot of people who are bisexual and have simply been living as either straight or gay, one or the other, and they only bother coming out when it's potentially to some advantage. And if you're on the left, then it is a little bit of a point in your favor. I mean, not much, like being, I don't know, probably Dragon Kin or some weird fucking made up bullshit like that would be much more to your advantage on the left. But, saying that you're bisexual, it's like, that's a little bit in their view a point in your favor. So, it's understandable why some people would do that, especially if they really were bisexual and they're just like, yeah, fuck it. It's like I'm tired of hiding it, because I hid it in the past because it made sense to hide it in the past because it would have only hurt me in other people's eyes. But now, all of my weirdo peers will think it's a good thing. So I'm gonna finally admit it.
I would think of a bisexual as a person that just couldn't make up their mind.
Okay, so there we go with Art bringing up the first bit of not understanding this. I mean, I'm taking him at his word. I mean, maybe he's just trying to be funny, but I'm taking him at his word when he says he always thought of a bisexual as someone who couldn't make up their mind. Well, that's not, of course, true. You can be bisexual and, just settle on being with one particular person of whichever gender it is that you prefer. I mean, it doesn't matter. That's the whole thing. It's like, if you're heterosexual, then you're only going to be interested in opposite sex partners. If you're homosexual, you're only going to be interested in same-sex partners. If you're bisexual, you're interested in both. It's like both options are open, but that's all it means. Doesn't mean you have to have both. I mean, there are some people, again, in the past, I've heard people talk about bisexuality as though they think that if you're bisexual, in order to achieve orgasm, you have to bed down both a man and a woman at the same time. That's just like, what? Why the hell would you think that? That doesn't make any sense. That's just, like I said, it's, and this has gone on for decades, for God's sake, and people have had access, in the past at least, to dictionaries that had not been rewritten by SJWs and therefore would have contained a simple definition that they could have looked up at any time and known what was going on. Instead, they're just like, I don't understand. God damn.
I have an
They're
ex-editor.
so desperate they'll take anything.
That's where they'll take anything. Was that who said that? I don't know. It doesn't matter. One of the bald guys, I think, said that. Ethan's collecting a lot of bald friends here. Not all of them, but a lot of them. To Art's credit, it's like he appears to have still have a full head of hair. Anyway, and of course there's Nasser, but he's still young, so he doesn't get any special credit for that. Billy's got hair. Anyway, so the taking anything, it's like, that kind of suggests, and unfortunately there are even people who are like bisexual activists who have promoted that view of bisexuality as though, yes, a bisexual will screw anything that moves. That is, of course, not true. Bisexual people, like any, it's like there are straight people who will screw, any opposite sex partner. And there are certainly an unfortunate, but, again, we're talking about stereotypes in the last video. The stereotype of gay men going out clubbing and going home with a different partner every night. It's like, that's a stereotype for a reason, because there are a lot of gay guys that do that. Now, that doesn't mean that all of them do. There are gay guys who find, the love of their life and get married and settle down, and that's it. And they're just monogamous. But there are plenty of them that go out clubbing and fuck a different guy every single night, or at least every night that they can score. It's like, so yeah, stereotypes exist for a reason. Now, again, they'll take anything. It's like that's a suggestion essentially of like no standards or whatever, you screw anything. And it's like, oh, there are plenty of straight men who will screw any woman, and there are plenty of gay men who will screw any guy. And there are probably plenty of bisexual men who will screw any guy or girl. No, it's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean that all of them are like that. So anyway.
Oh, that's even worse.
I have an ex-editor that I worked with for years at DC Comics, and they just did that too. Evidently, it was just a thing, a very virtuous thing to do. And I know,
again, this is correct. As to why it's happening, why people are coming out as bisexual right now in comics and whatnot, is because you have a completely SJW converged industry, and they now foresee it as to their advantage rather than their detriment that they reveal their sexuality. Or they're just making it up. I mean, it's also an easy thing to make up as far as that goes.
oh, their live-in partner or whatever, and they're not bisexual.
Now, that is a little bit of potential ignorance right there, talking about knowing their live-in partner and they're not bisexual. This is the thing where it's like, oh, they're bi, then they have to be getting it on with both men and women, either simultaneously or switching off, one to the other or whatever. That's not the case, of course. You can be bisexual and be monogamous. And hey, maybe you're bi and you're a guy and you have a girlfriend and you're with your girlfriend and have sex with her regularly for years, and then it doesn't work out. It's like instead of getting married or whatever, you break up, etc., and you're on your own again, and then you happen to meet a nice guy, and the two of you click, and then you got a boyfriend, for however long that relationship lasts. Maybe it lasts forever, and maybe it lasts for just a few weeks. Who knows? But it's like, that's possible. Like that is the way some people live their lives. And so the idea that, if you're only having sex with a woman, well, you can't be bisexual. It's like, yeah, you can.
I mean, that it's just a very cool thing to do, and it's like, how do you disprove it? It's like,
well, why would you need to? Why would you want to? Who gives a shit? I mean, again, it's like, this really should be the point, shouldn't it? That especially people, at least nominally on the right, I'm pretty sure that Ethan and all of his cohorts here are essentially all right-wingers to a certain extent. Shouldn't we on the right be promoting basically that perspective of, why are you specifically coming out as anything? Why does it matter? Who gives a shit? Why is there a fucking Wikipedia entry about your sexuality? It's nobody's business but you and whoever the fuck you're screwing. So, just stop talking about it. We don't want to know. It's like, you saw that fat fuck that they showed. It's like, do we want to know that he, who he's screwing or what he's screwing? We don't care. There's no reason for us to care.
It's
Well,
like,
what if somebody asks you to prove it? What if John Malin comes up to you?
and says, you
Come
better
here, Al.
know.
Come here, Al, and suck on these balls.
Now there we have an actual joke, and it is funny. So,
I mean, it's like bisexuality.
But it's ruined immediately afterwards with,
To me, just means cheater. That
just means cheater. Yes, this is another stereotype. Again, yeah, are there bisexual people who cheat? Of course there are, just like there's straight people who cheat and gay people who cheat. But does being bisexual mean that you're definitely going to cheat? Like there's just no way around it? No, it doesn't.
That's what it means. It means I'm going to cheat on whatever partner I choose. I'm going to cheat on her.
Right.
It's gotta be weird, right? It's like,
Wrong.
hey, dear, I'm bisexual. I'm not
That's a way of
cheating.
saying-
I'm living myself. Don't
Right.
get in the way of me.
Now, I have no idea whether, I do know a guy and his wife, as I know both of them, friends with both of them, and I know that she's bisexual. I'm not sure about him. I'm pretty sure he's straight. But I know that she swings both ways. Now, I don't know whether she hooks up with girls and he gets to watch and he likes it, or, it's none of my business. So, I've never inquired. But I know that she is bi, and I know that she's married to a dude. So maybe she's cheating on him. Don't know. Maybe it's, she, has hookups with girls and he approves. He likes to watch. Don't know. Maybe they're just simply monogamous. Don't know. Not my business. But, but the idea that, it's like she doesn't got to be cheating on him.
I remember this guy. He was a comic book writer. I'm not going to say his name, but he was married, and he said that he was talking to me, and this was like a form of bragging. He goes, "My wife is bisexual," so and I was like, "You're married to her?
She's
Like
cheating on you."
What the hell does that mean? I like.
Well, maybe it means that, like a number of straight men, he has an interest in watching women get it on. I mean, there's a lot of straight guys who really like to watch women, make out, even fuck each other. And there's, don't tell me that you really believe that all the lesbian porn out there is made simply for lesbians to enjoy. Trust me, not enough lesbians are buying that porn, for there to be that much of it. It's done largely for straight men. And also, although it's probably a substantially smaller percentage, there's still a significant number of straight women who really like the idea of seeing two guys get it on. It's true, I mostly, if I'm going to watch porn, I prefer straight porn, but, whatever. It's like, whatever, I mean, there have been some lesbian pornos that I've watched that it's like, damn, that those are two fine ass bitches getting it on. That's like, I like that. But anyway, whatever.
Do you get off on watching her do other
Maybe he does, and that's his business.
women? Like, what is that about? Like, that's just the weirdest thing.
Well, I would kind of agree, because I wouldn't get off on seeing my partner, being with somebody else, just with me. Thank you very much. But but that's just me. It's like, I'm aware that not everybody thinks about it the same way I do. So anyway.
Yeah.
She better be monosexual,
Yeah.
Someone in the chat said, it's Carson Depp said, in other words, he gets rejected by men and women.
And there's another good joke at the expense of the Al Ewing or whoever it was they were talking about.
This is NASA.
And then we have Nasser's campaign that he goes into. Now, there was a whole bunch of talk in the chat saying, things that ranged from some of them maybe funny, one or two of them, pointing out the reality, which is you can be both bisexual and monogamous. It's not like the two are mutually exclusive. And a bunch of people spouting fairly common tropes or whatever about about bisexuality or whatever, including at least one person, I believe, who said bisexuality doesn't exist, which is, it's also, this is also a little bit of bigotry against bisexuals. It's kind of interesting when you think about it. A lot of the bigotry against bisexuals comes actually from the gays. It comes from the homosexual community, because their view on bisexuals, I mean, not all of them, their view, some of them understand, but, a lot of them have a view of bisexuals as being, if you're, playing around in Gay Town or whatever, then either you're just a straight guy who's kind of curious and you just want to, which is ridiculous, because it's like, if you're actually straight, then you wouldn't be interested. That's what that means, but whatever. I guess that's why we now need a super straight, moniker. But anyway, but it's either that, or they're like, oh, well, as was brought up here, it's like, oh, well, you're definitely going to cheat on me. It's like you're going to, come to Gay Town and pick up a boyfriend, but then you're gonna cheat on your boyfriend with a girlfriend or your wife or something. It's like no, that's not. I mean, it can be true, but it's not necessarily true. So anyway, like I said, a lot of and obviously there's some people who who just flat out say, bisexuality is not a thing. It doesn't exist. There are no bisexuals. There's just people who are either they're like, I don't know, like they're confused or whatever, but they're really straight, or they're gay and they're simply like not willing to admit that they're fully gay, and it's like, no, that's not what it means, guys. And here we have the Oxford English Dictionary definition from at least 10 years ago, maybe further back than that. I did not look up a new definition, because all new definitions that you can find on fuck near everything, but especially shit to do with sexuality, probably very, very suspect. Anyway, so bisexual definition, as sexually attracted, adjective, sexually attracted to both men and women, biology, having characteristics of both sexes. Noun, a bisexual. Noun, a person who is sexually attracted to both men and women. That's it. A person who is sexually attracted to both men and women. There's nothing in there about having to have sex with both, or either, for that matter. If you are sexually attracted to both men and women, you are bisexual. That is the entirety of what it fucking means. It's so simple, and I cannot believe how many people act like it's so confusing. It's not confusing at all. It doesn't mean that you have to sleep with a man and a woman each time in order to get off, or any of the other ridiculous bullshit that people come up with. It doesn't mean that you're always going to cheat on a partner or whatever. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean any of that shit. You know, you can be a bisexual man and you can live an entirely straight life. You know, you meet, you fall in love with a woman, and you marry her, and you have kids, and you never once fuck a dude. And you're still bisexual because you are sexually attracted to men. I mean, it's like there's, you know, it's like, oh, how could you be sexually attracted to men and not cheat on your wife with one? The same way it's possible to be sexually attracted to women and not cheat on your wife with another woman. The same goddamn way. It's possible to keep it in your fucking pants. Obviously, lots of guys, you know, I mean, you know, lots of women too, but lots of people choose not to. But they can. You can control yourself. It's remarkably easy if you just decide to do it. So, anyway. But yeah, I mean, it just, like I said, the stupidity of you know, of not. I mean, like I said, it's not like we're trying to understand, you know, the always morphing definitions of weird shit that the left comes up with. They're talking about trans stuff. They're talking about, you know, gender fluidity or whatever, and the, you know, or dragon kin or deer kin or some other fucking bullshit thing that they made up, you know, just last week potentially. You know, it's like, it's not like we're talking about shit like that. That's weird. That you know, that's never been a thing before. It's like there have been bisexual people probably as long as there have been people. You know, it's you may consider it weird yourself, but it's really not. You know, I mean, again, another conservative ink guy, and I don't really care for him, you know, but nevertheless, I think I probably agree with Dennis Prager when he says, I believe he was being interviewed by Dave Rubin maybe or somebody some years back, said that he believed that bisexuality was probably the natural state for human beings. Like, that's probably true. But the thing is, as I think I've mentioned before when this subject came up, some previous video, I don't remember which one. The thing is, like, human sexuality is essentially a spectrum ranging from 100% hetero to 100% homo, and most people are going to be not all the way one way or the other. Most people are going to fall somewhere in the middle, but not like dead center middle. They're going to be, you know, there's very few people clustered around an even split. And there's very few people at either 100% extreme. But there's plenty of people in the in-betweens, and whichever one you're closest to, whichever extreme you're closest to, is probably where you're going to find yourself fitting in. Like, as I've mentioned this before, every gay person that I'm friends with, that I actually know their backstory, that I actually, you know, I actually kind of know their life story or whatever, every one of them started out straight, and they enjoyed their straight partners, and then they tried, you know, they tried it gay or lesbian or whatever, and decided they liked that more. It wasn't that they didn't like straight sex, it's just that they decided they liked gay sex more. And so from that point on, they identified themselves as gay. But is that really what they are? No. Because even after they came out as quote-unquote gay or lesbian, they continued to demonstrate that, no, they're still attracted to members of the opposite sex. Every one of them has done that. So, I mean, I'm not going to question them defining themselves as gay. They're welcome to do that and live a gay lifestyle of whatever flavor they wish, whether that's, you know, a committed one or, you know, or a, you know, I'm going out trying to find a different person, you know, as often as possible, whatever. I don't care. It's not my business. However, like I said, the truth, as near as I can figure it, is that they're actually bisexual, but presumably they fall closer to the extreme of 100% homosexual than they do to either an even split or, you know, or anything on the hetero side of things, and therefore because they're closer to that end of things, they just decide, you know what, I'm just going to be a part of the gay community. I'm going to identify as gay. And probably, especially because there's far more, cultural taboo or whatever against it, probably people who find themselves mostly weighted towards the hetero side of things are going to keep very quiet about any same-sex attractions. They're going to probably deny it to themselves to a certain extent, and they're certainly not going to tell anybody else, and they're just going to, have, opposite-sex partners because that's easy enough to do. It's probably easier to do for them than it would be to not, and it's way the fuck easier, as far as societally speaking, fitting in, to just be like, no, I'm straight. Okay. But the idea that, it's like, I can virtually guarantee you that a lot of the people out there that are currently saying, I'm super straight, they're not. Not really. They got a little bit of, of same-sex attraction in there someplace. Again, doesn't mean it's enough to even make you feel like you need to act on it, let alone enough to force you to act on it. No amount would force you to act on it. Again, it's like, many people, for religious reasons usually, will decide that, well, I'm 100% gay, but I'm going to, not ever, have sex with anyone because, that's wrong. I don't personally believe that that's wrong, but if they do and that's how they want to, while away their time in this world, then that's up to them. Anyway, so I don't know. What would this be termed? An educational video? A rant? A little bit of both? I don't know. But anyway, like I said, it's just, so many people being so apparently incorrect and ignorant about something so simple and straightforward, something so easy to grasp. And like I said, it's not just Ethan and his buddies there on ComicsGate Kings. It's everybody. Like, for years, I keep on coming across somebody saying something really stupid. It's like, what are you talking about? Come on. It's like, did you ever, again, definition, right the fuck there. Did you ever bother to look it up, dude? Did you ever bother to look it up? It's like, it's, bisexual is, in its own way, kind of based. How? Because the very word acknowledges that sex and, by extension, gender is binary. That's it. That's all there is. Men and women. There's no third whatever. No, none of that crap. Bisexuals accept anything. Well, yes, but in a way. But there's only two things to fucking accept. That's the point. It's right. Binary. It's right there in the fucking word. So, let's not pretend that something so straightforward and reasonable, in terms of the definition and whatnot, is somehow an impenetrable esoteric thing that the left has invented, because they didn't. They invented plenty of weird shit that is essentially impenetrable, unknowable, and probably that way by design. But bisexual, not that way. Not that way at all. It's totally understandable. It's very straightforward. No pun intended on the straight thing. But anyway, it's like, it's very straightforward to understand what the fuck it means. So, there we go. Your noun for the day, bisexual. B is for bisexual. Yeah, I know. Like that weirdo YouTube channel with what is it, queer kid stuff or something. Oh my god, that's fucking nightmarish. All right, until the next one.